Yeah, so this is a fair use from the Act of 1976. Disclaimer, Section 107, under critical and teaching and scholarship and educational purposes, research. I am not making any money off this. This is fair use, fair use.
Khan, Brakatah Yahweh, Brakatah Yahweh Shai. Want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Kahaloyim Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakha HaKodash. I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders, a great millstone, who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners, whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold, Shalom. To you sisters, you achwatim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This is your brother Ram Yehowadah with the lesson. Yeah. This is the mystery of America's gold and why an audit matters. It says, how much gold does the U.S. actually have? Dominic Fesby says explains why it matters. Right? It says two rumors have been circling around the gold market for many years. Some call them conspiracy theorists. Others note that conspiracy theorists often prove true. Right? Every single time they've been 100% so far. That what's the difference between conspiracy, which there's conspiracy is a real thing, right? Right? You know, a theorist, when you look at a theorist, right, it's someone who's, what they don't like is someone who thinks about, who has a mind, who has a think, because theorist means you're thinking, right? They'll have the scientists tell you certain things, like, I have this new thing and I've been working on this scientific thing and it'll work in theory, right? In your thought, right? So, but they want you to think that if you have a theory or a thought that attached to their conspiracy, it's like you get a call coming in, but that if you just say this stuff, which a lot of people, they don't understand the meaning of words, so they go, oh yeah, that means you're a nut. That means I'm crazy because I think. But see, conspiracy and truth, right? About 30 years. It's a big gap. And true been 100. The conspiracy theorist been 100 for 100 so far, which really ultimately, when you deal with the men of the Lord, which that's what they want to call us, conspiracy nuts, faith believers, right? But that's the whole everything about the Bible. The conspiracies in the Bible, right? Faith, we walk by faith and not by sight, is in the scriptures, man. So we're living by the scriptures. It says the first noticeable is that China has far more gold than it says it does. We actually know this to be true. Yeah, you're saying that, but you don't know. See? Now they can say you're a conspiracy theorist, right? But hey, whatever, right? But you're thinking, man, you got to think, and they're doing this. Why would they put down everything that they had? I wouldn't do it. Everything's about competition, which that's what America's doing. They're not putting down everything they have or everything they don't really have. They're leaving it up for limbo because people were saying, hey, look, we don't think you have what you say you have. The other is that, yeah, America has far less than 8,133 tons of gold. It says it possesses. See, so they're saying they don't really, but then no one's saying anything. So they're not saying that they have more, and America's not saying that they're not under or less, right? But it says this has been doing the round. This has been doing the round since 1971, when Peter Beater, a lawyer, and financial advisor to former President John F. Kennedy, said he had been informed that the gold in Fort Knox had been removed, which I believe that to be true, right? He went on to write a best-selling book about what? The conspiracy against the dollar, right? Which we understand that conspiracy against the dollar, right? Because so the problem is the total lack of transparency, which we already know that. We'll just get down to the point. Because the conspiracy to kill the dollar, which they were always planning to bring in the MOTB, right? Which started with this. Roosevelt triggered a boom. But to understand this situation, we need to go back in time all the way to 1933, when the U.S. left the gold standard. See? And that's the conspiracy, which they were killing their own dollar. Everything the U.S. ever did is self-inflicted. That's the reason why it says, "Oh, virgin daughter," in Isaiah 47, because this time it's not going to be a self-inflicted thing. It's going to come from your grasp and out of your control, right? Kind of like Lazinski said, you have an ocean between you, but you will feel. Right? You're gonna feel that ocean ain't gonna save you. Right? Says in order to bluster growth, U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt famously devalued the U.S. dollar, right? And there's your conspiracy. So the U.S. crippled their own dollar, right? Which is intentional, right? In relations to gold, revaluing gold upwards by 70%, from $20 an ounce to $35 an ounce. U.S. gold reserve would increase to unprecedented levels in the next 15 years. But now that was them inflating it, or because now that doesn't exist, right? Right? Because now it's corrupted, right? It's not what it used to be. That boom is gone, right? Because you need something to back the dollar, right? And yeah, it made it jump up because you needed to put more dollars to equal the gold. See, it's trick you. Because before, $20 would have been good for the ounce, or however this thing, from $20 an ounce to $35, meaning you needed to have to put more dollars to equal it. It didn't change. It's still that amount for the 20, but because they took it off, you had to put more money to equal that 20. So really, you just robbed the people, right? Yeah. So this is James chapter 5, verse 1. The subheading says misuse of riches, which it should say, woe to you rich men, right? Right, because that's what this is about. And it's going to be a judgment. But you can say they definitely misuse the riches of the world, And then it says, "Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you," which basically mean what? Woe, a judgment, right? Like I said, it should be woe to you, rich men, right? But it says, Amplified says, "Come quickly now, you rich who lack true faith." Right? Wow, nice. Yeah, they don't have, they don't have the ability to have faith, and hoard and misuse your resources, and not your resources. You hoard and you misuse the resources of the world, right? Pretty much what they're doing now. With this whole Strait of Hormuz being blocked, but it's actually shooting America in the foot. But they can't back down because it's going to serve two purposes. It's going to give them that opportunity to bring in the MOTB, right? And then also bring in the third woe, right? Which will bring in Yahushai, right? And it says, "Weep and howl over the miseries, the woe," right? Which means judgment, the judgments, right? Right, that are coming upon you. Yeah. So this is James chapter 5 verse 2. It says, Your riches are corrupt, and your garments moth eaten." Right. Right. Now, basically, uh, it's basically lost its value, right? When it's all eaten up, you could have what was it back in the day? When you used to have real fabrics and things like that, a real high sought out thing was like Egyptian cotton, right? Right. This cotton is very. It helps you breathe. It's really it's comfortable. It breathes. You don't sweat as much with it, but it allows to breathe. You look good in it too. Like, what I mean? It's a real good, real good fit to have some Egyptian cotton. And then just the way that they wove it, it's way, well, at that time, I don't know if anybody know how to, do it that way today, but the way they wove it it's just way different. And it made it very valuable, something like, but it says, your wealth has rotten, right? And something that's old, like food, when it starts rotting, it's like decaying, right? It's corrupted, starts, and is ruined. And your fine clothes have became moth eaten, right? You know, um, what is it? The Lord says, riches. Matter of fact, let's get that. Riches gotten by deceit, right? Yeah. So continue on right here. This is just AI, just answering when it's talk about gold being cankered, especially when you're dealing with what's happening in the U.S. Right? It says when people use words like corrupt or cankered regarding U.S. gold, they are actually referring to the three main issues: physical purity, right? It's got to be pure gold, right? Political trust, right? So when you deal with different nations, when you deal with trading with different nations and doing things, and and especially since the dollar is supposed to be the world reserve currency, you got to have that trust. And when in having trust, what are you going to be doing? And transparency. See, you're going to have transparency with the world, and they will have no problem with trading or even just leaving the dollar as the world currency, right? Besides, they want to they want to crap it all out anyway, just so they can bring in the MOTB. But just saying, as far as it says, low physical purity It says impure. It says and a staggering 83% of gold bars at the Fort Knox do not meet modern international purity standards. See, so that gold does not meet the standards, basically being what? Cankered, right? It says the coin mint problem. Much of U.S. reserves were created by melting down old gold coins, like your seeds from citizens in 1933, right? Forgot what president did that. I believe Roosevelt did it like in the 70s. There was another president. Can't think of the president name. Well, we can look it up. But they took the gold off the standard, but then they still took the gold from the people, right? And so these bars are roughly 90% pure coin grade, so they're not meeting the standard, right? Because it says modern requirements. London Bullion Market Association, the LBMA, requires a minimum purity of 99.5, which is they're giving you leeway as far as, because it's really supposed to be 100%, right? Not 99, but being you have to melt things down, you may have to put a little something just to keep it solid, so it's not, so they're giving you a little leeway, which puts it's more closer to pure than not. I mean, at 90%, you have a lot that you're missing, like a lot, right? This is a good delivery gold bars, because the U.S. gold is below this, right? It is considered ill-equipped or ill. I don't know. Like I said, ill-equipped. Yeah, ill-equipped. Yeah. Okay, I think I said it right. Ill-equipped for modern, international trade without being refined first. So they're gonna have to do, which if you do that, you're gonna lose more, because it's already at only at 90%. So if you do that, you're gonna lose even more. So that's real time, the Lord prophecy right there. Their gold is cankered, right? Yeah. So this Ecclesiasticus, which is in the Apocrypha, which is canon, by the way, right? Whether you believe or forbear, whether you hear or forbear, hey, it is what it is. So Ecclesiasticus 10:8, because of unrighteous dealings, right? And that's what the self-proclaimed so-called white man has done throughout his history on the earth, and as a country, as a nation, especially here in Babylon the Great, which is America, spiritually Egypt, spiritually Sodom, spiritually Assyria, right? Also known as Basra, or the land of Uz, right? Because it's the capital place of Esau, Edom, got it by dealings, unrighteous dealings, and riches got by what? Deceit. The kingdom is translated from one people to another, right? And the Lord said that the kingdom of heaven suffer violent, and the violent take it by force. And that's how Esau got the world. He got it by force, by violence. But that's how the Lord is going to take back the world, by violence, right? And it says, yeah, because that is the blessing of Esau, Edom, right? And this is Psalms 76 verse 3. I mean, Psalm 73 verse 6. Therefore, therefore pride compass them, right? Who? The Edomites, all of them, all 5 tribes of Edom, but mainly this this American Edomite, or the Western Edomites, right? But especially here in America, that pride compasses them about as a chain, right? Like a chain, like locking them. They can't put it off. Like they can't get away from being this prideful, deceitful, dealing, dealing deceitful, right? Dealing unjustly, right? They can't help it. Violence covered them as a garment. See, and that's that garment that's moth eaten, right? Because now the military has always been their way of being able to get the riches, right? But now it's not all coming together. This whole fight at the Strait of Hormuz is actually, they're shooting themselves in the foot. It's showing that they're not the big bad bully anymore. It's showing their weakness on both ends, because not only is the military, right, that violence that they normally go by is not really working. The money is devaluing, right? So you're not sought at or looked at as you were before, right? Yeah, so that's why it says right here, because of unrighteous dealings and injuries and riches got by deceit, the kingdom, right, which is the world, right, because they have, Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked, is translated from one people, right, from the Edomites, to another, which would be the Israelites, starting with Yahweh Shai. And that's ultimately what's coming. And that's why it says right here, why is earth and ashes proud? You're just a human. You're just flesh. There's no reason for you to be proud, as if you're going to continue the world, ruling the world, which the Lord made the world for, ultimately for the Israelites' sake. But guess what? Yahweh Shai happens to be an Israelite. So the world was made ultimately for his sake, right? He the one who created it. Says there is not a more wicked thing than a covetous man, right? And that's what they've been doing. They covet the entire planet Earth. They cover the gold, the oil, the diamonds, the uranium, whatever it is that a person has that's worth any type of money, they covet it, right? Not to mention the land, the women, the houses, right? They're super covetous. They want it to be just where the billionaires are the ones who's the one who have all the money in the world. That's a covetous thing. You're misusing the riches. You're not distributing the riches aright. Especially you being the steward, right? For such in one setteth his own soul to sell. Wow. Yeah, you're about to, and you're about to get nothing for it. You're gonna be destroyed, because while he liveth, he casteth away his bowels, right? Let's look up that word, bowels. Bowel or bowels. It's like cast away the bowels, the part of the elementary canal below the stomach, the intestine. Interior.
Inside.
Innards. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes me think of the scripture talks about the inward man, right? Your soul, basically, because that's pretty much what the other thing pretty much said. Yeah. The other thing said, I guess it's intestines.
Intestine.
Guts, right? Which, when you go into the word, like most people use it, guts goes into like having a moxie, having fight, which will most likely go back to faith. They put off their, because as we read about earlier, they put off that faith, right? They don't have no faith. They can't wait on the Lord. They want their stuff now. They can't believe that the Lord is gonna. Yeah, it looks bad now, but the Lord will come through. It can't wait. I want my stuff now, right? So to speak. And so I just went to Google, and there's 2 things popped up, like 2 like Bible study things. This one's the BYU studies. It says bowel captures much of the KJV sense of the word concerning as considered as the set of the tender and sympathetic emotions, hence pity, compassion, feeling, heart, right? Which they said they cast that away. Yeah, they said they have no pity upon the young or the old, right? When they come through slaughter, they have no pity. They cast away pity. But it says the inward parts, right? Which basically would be the spirit, right? Affections put on, therefore, as the elect of the power of the Most High Yahweh Bashem Shai, holy and beloved bowels of mercy, right? Yeah, you're supposed to have mercy. What kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, and long suffering. You got to have patience, faith. You got to be able to do these things. Have pity, have mercy, have long suffering. They don't have that. They put it all aside, for what they want right now, because they covet, right? Yeah. So this is Micah chapter 2, verse 1 said, woe, which we know is judgment, to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds, right? Which is in their rulership, right? Bed is you rest on your bed, right? So they're at rest, they're at ease. I mean, they want for nothing. They could do whatever they want to do. Pretty much, you could have Epstein and they're at rest. They're not tossing and turning. Oh yeah, one day I'm gonna go to jail or thing. My everything is gonna be. My whole life is gonna get turned upside down. They're fine, right? You know what I'm saying? When the morning is light, right, which is basically their rulership. They're the Illuminati. They're ruling. They're part of that. That Epstein class. They're top. They practice it, right? That's what they're doing, showing they don't go to jail because it is in the power of their hand, right? And they covet, right? See, a covetous man, right? Covet fields, right? And when you covet fields be dealing with the land, the world. You dig the gold, you dig the silver, the uranium, the gold, the silver, the oil, whatever it is that they go do, or just the land itself, the entire countries, right? Australia, South Africa, Europe, America, South America, Canada, the entire world, right? Right. And it said their garment is moth eaten, right? But also their garment compassed them about with violence. They're violent. They cut the garment compassed them like a chain, and it's like a chain of violence, right? And so what is it? And take them by violence and the houses and take them away, and they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. And that's what they do, right? They over there messing with those Middle Eastern people, putting women in there, telling other women not to cover their hair, and you could be rebellious, and what I mean. You're messing with a man in his heritage. That's part of their heritage, you know. Which eventually all you women are going to be. All the women of the world is going to have their head covered when they walk down the street, right? You know. But that's how they get down, man. You know. Yeah. So this is James chapter 5 verse 3. So your gold and silver, right? Because that's real money, right? But this devil basically there's nothing back in the dollar. He took the money off the gold standard, a while back ago, right? We read that earlier, right? Under Roosevelt, right? Took the gold, so then their money is it's it's not doing too well, especially since um oil is how your money's backed. If you're blocking the oil at the Strait of Hormuz, then other people are blocking the oil. You're not really making any money, which I believe you're only making half of what you used to make in the first place, because between the BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and then South Africa, they figured out a way that they can use their own currency through some type of digital currency, which really is all a setup to bring in the digital currency anyway, but they're not using the dollar at the end of the day. That basically, that's what they figured out how to do, is to go around using the dollar to convert the dollars into, because you used to have to convert their dollars into US dollars, and then they had to buy oil. But they basically found a way not to have to do that. And there's only a few countries that's still doing that, but then you're even blocking the countries that would be doing that. So you're hurt. They're basically all the way around. Trump is shooting himself in the foot at the end of the day, you know. So, and basically, it's your gold is your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you. See, and that's what's happening right now. It's becoming a witness against him, right? And it says, your gold and silver are corroded, and their corrosion will be a witness against you, and you will consume your flesh like fire, right? Yeah, like basically he's shooting himself in the foot, right? Which they did it way back a long time ago. Matter of fact, right? Yeah, see, and see, because that whole thing that what Roosevelt did a long time ago, see, and they put that gold in Fort Knox and this and that. It's not. See, as you can see, it's not registering the same. It has to be, according to today's standards, it has to be 99.5%. It's not even close to that. So that's corrupt. That's a corrupt, and a false balance is an abomination unto Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So this whole place is full of false balances and abominations, man. Right? You know, so, and that's a definitely a way of saying you're burning through money, right? Because that's what they did. They just burned through a bunch of money, which they never really actually had. It says you have stored up treasures in the last days when it will do you no good, right? So they got treasures. They got the Fort Knox, but it ain't gonna do them any good. It's not to help them, right? It's not, you know. It says a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped up treasures together for the last days, and really, you did it for the elect. You did it for the nation of Israel, and yeah, it's not benefiting you, right? Because now what? Nobody wants your treasure. Nobody wants your FRNs. Nobody. What am I gonna do with 90% gold, right? You know what I'm saying? I don't want that. You're gonna have to try to do something to make it more pure. But if you try to do something to make it more pure, you might end up taking more a percentage away from it to try to purify it. So you basically, all the way around, Trump is shooting himself in the foot, right? Yeah. So this is Isaiah chapter 13, verse 17. Says, behold, I will stir up the meeks, right? When you stir up someone, it's talking about a fight, right? So World War III is going to happen, but it's going to be some time before it happens. But as you know, and stirring up all these different things, because Persia, right, is allied with Russia, right along with China and even India, right? And those places still need to get the oil and things like that. It's going to stir up some things, and then they might try to talk so-called diplomatic talks, but it's going to stir it all up against them, which shall not regard your silver. See, your silver and your gold are already cankered, but you're going to stir up something against the Russian, right? Which is Russia, right? And the Meeks, which we understand that land where Russia is at, is where the Meeks was that it's talking about the land, and also Ezekiel 38, where it speaks of Rosh meaning chief, and Shar meaning prince. So we know it's Rashar, right? Which is in Ezekiel 38, which that links up with this being the Meeks, against them which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it, right? Because your thing is already only what 90. It doesn't meet the standards. It don't meet today's standards. You're living off old glories. That's why you always bring up World War I, World War II, and all these other things. And then to come to find out, really, it was Russia that did most of all the work in World War I and World War II. You just came up afterwards, and then you claim the glory. What thing had you looking good is because Slovakia, you always had Amalek behind you, and at one point in time they put the economic hitman on Rashar, right? Right? And they fell for but they bounced back stronger and more powerful than ever, right? Yeah. So with all the stuff that you're doing, ultimately, like I said, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. So it says Jeremiah chapter 50 verse 16, cut off the sower from Babylon, right? And which that's a spiritual indicator, right, about this place, America, right? Because it's took on the attributes of ancient Babylon, right? Because some of the holidays, some of the different things, but also ultimately Babylon goes into confusion, right? And this place is full of confusion, right? So this is also known as the daughter of Babylon, right? When you go to Isaiah 47, this is also known as the daughter of Babylon, which is speaking of America, not speaking of ancient Babylon, right? Because ancient Babylon is still there, right? This place is going to be turned into a desert, right, when it's done. So that's how you know it's speaking of a different Babylon, which is spiritual, right? Basically saying they taken on the the attributes spiritual, almost like she speaks about that in the scriptures. It says that a mother, it will be told unto the daughter that matter of fact, let me get it real quick because I'm kind of messing up on it. Yeah, so this is Ezekiel 16 verse 44. Behold, feast your eyes, look, pay attention, right? Now this verse is actually speaking about Israel, right? And pretty much the same premise, because we were acting like other nations. So that's just what basically what the Lord was saying, behold, everyone that useth proverbs shall use this proverb against thee, right? Which was talking about us against the Israelites, saying, as is the mother, so is the daughter, right? Because we were acting like these heathen nations, these ultimately these Canaanite nations, right? Following their gods and all these other different things. So the Lord was calling us the daughter of these nations. Matter of fact, it says, thou art, because this is speaking about the Israelites, thou art thy mother's daughter that loatheth her husband and her children, and that thou art the sister of thy sisters, which loatheth her husbands and their children. Your mother is a Hittite, which is Hamites. It's another nation, right? Which Israelites are not Hittites. You can't change into another nation, right? We're the Israelites. Hittites are Canaanites. So the Lord is referring it to us like as if, your mother must be a Hittite. Oh, because you're acting just like your mother, right? and your father are Amorite, right? These are heathen nations. So are you, have you're acting like these other nations. So that's pretty much the same understanding that it has when the Lord calls uh uh America the daughter of Babylon. Yeah, come back right here. Yeah, I'm just start right here. Just yeah, Jeremiah 50 and 16. Jeremiah 56:16. Cut off the sword from Babylon, right? Which, like I said, America is spiritually known as Babylon, but not to mention it's also spiritually known as Rome, right? Don't let me forget to say that, because it's also spiritually Rome, because that's the thing, same thing that they did in Rome. They're doing it here, right? They're shooting themselves in the foot. You know, you uh you took the gold um from the people to make those things, and now it's not meeting requirements, and you wasn't expecting to, this day didn't seem like it was ever going to come, right? You wasn't expecting this. You know, you wouldn't look into the foreseeable future as far as this was going to be something that shot you in the foot, so to speak. You know what I mean? But that's the same thing you did in Rome, right? You took you took the gold and the silver out of the coins, and put a different metal into the coins, and thought that would suffice, but it was rubbing off, and people realized there was something else wrong with it. I remember when I was a kid, they would make a phrase or a saying about a wooden nickel, and that's basically what you were giving people. Basically, your fiat, it's basically a wooden nickel, and people are realizing, hey, your money is not worth anything, and you're not looking too hot as far as the world stage, you know. So cut off the sword from Babylon, right? Oh, not to mention, because of this blockade and all these different things, it's messing up the soil, right? And that soil needs to get to the people. So that's another thing you're shooting yourself in the foot. So then you don't have money here, you won't have food to be growing at home. But see, the rich is rich, so they don't really give a damn, right? And him that handled the sickle in the time of harvest, see, with dealing with this the like I said, the fertilizer, for fear of the oppressing sword, they shall turn every one to his people. Yeah, because he about to come down with great wrath, knowing he had but a short time, right? He gonna show his true horn, show that he's a thug, right? Which they kind of did that already. They were stealing people's stuff at their banks. There were one Edomite dude said that he had 2 or 3 bricks of gold that his father left him when he was young, and he had it in his bank, one of the vault, and then someone came and broke throughout all the bank things and took it, and there's nothing he could, you know nothing he could do about it. And then what you call them only covers 100 something thousand or something like that. That little insurance thing that they have for the bank. And then another guy, he had 10 million, in his bank, and then they took that, and they're not gonna restore his goods to him. And that's them, the oppressing sword, right? Esau's gonna come down with great wrath, knowing he had but a short time. They shall turn every one to his people, and they shall flee everyone to his own land. Right? Yeah, because they're gonna be worth being here in America anymore. Not when you can get, not when you can get beat up and killed any second. You don't have to worry about a decree that you put out for Asian hate, right? It's gonna be a everybody hate. You know what I mean? It's gonna be citizens against citizens. Egyptian against Egyptian, right? It says Jeremiah chapter 50 verse 37. A sword is upon their horses, right? You're out there in Iran, and horse represents power. So you got your armada, you got your fleet, you got your you know your war vessels out there, you know um and it it ain't working for you. So you're losing on the battlefield, you're losing the financial war, you're losing respect in the world, as far as that, you're losing man, you're losing ground on like on every area. Like on every area, you're losing the respect of your own people. You know, your own citizens, because people feel like they can't trust you. They don't believe you, right? You know, just everything. You know, he's just losing on everything. You know, and then what the sword is upon their horses, which is your power, and upon their chariots. You know, you have your chariots, or it's basically a vehicle, whether it's on the water or in the air or on land. These are your vehicles of war, and they're not doing too hot, right? You know, your fighter jets are being shot down. Your your navy ships are being shot at, right? I mean, you're just losing on every front, and upon all the mingled people that are in the midst of her, right? Which this place, which is America, Babylon the Great, it's also known as the melting pot. There's a bunch of mingled people here. So when World War III get ramped up, everything, there's missiles are going to be shot on this place, and that's going to be it. They're going to be melted. You know what I mean? You know, and it says and 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 they shall become like they should become as women. So like, yeah, not like, but as women, right? Because people are going to be afraid. Famine, death, pestilence, right? Ultimately, like I said, the ICBM missiles. It's going to be a lot to be afraid of. People are going to be as women, become as women. A sword is upon her, which is America, right? Upon her treasure. See, and when you deal with the treasures that's in the Fort Knox, being it's only 90% gold, right? Pure, which don't meet the qualifications of the world stage as it is, right? They shall be robbed, right? And what right now, what is it? Saudi Arabia is who helps you manipulate the market as far as making the the petrodollar work, and they say they want a higher percentage because they know that your money ain't worth what you say it's worth. That's a lot of 10%, 10%, 10% of what was it, 8,000 tons or whatever tons it is of gold that you have, but there's a tenth of it that's missing, or a little more than a tenth, right? Because they wanted a 0.5, so it need to be 99 at least point, and then 0.5. So yeah, you're missing more than a tenth. So you're damn near about 14% off from being at the right level at 90%, right? So you're 14%. So you're 14% short of it being right. So what everybody else is going to do is they want a higher percent to trade or do deals with you, because your money is not adding up as far as whatever gold you have either in Fort Knox or New York or wherever your the gold is at. It's not adding up, so they want more. Yeah, so this is Obadiah chapter 1 verse 7. So all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border, the men that were at peace with thee, right? The men that were at peace with thee, right? So those men that were at peace with you, Saudi Arabia, you know, some of these other places, you know, Kuwait and whatever, however, whoever you're trading with, you know, these things. Oh, you know, Turkey was supposed to be the ally. You know, well, all those places are supposed to be allied with you, but none wanted to join in with you as far as, you know, this war. But you know, they want to benefit. They want to benefit off of you, right? And that's what they plan on doing, right? Saudi Arabia said they want to take a bigger chunk out of it. You know, they said they made a deal with China, but they wanted to make sure that they, you know, see if you wanted to make a better deal. And so Trump is giving them a bigger portion, right? But then everybody's going to ask for a bigger portion because your money is not equating, right? right? You're like 14% short from what you really need to be, what the value of your money should be, right? And then they haven't did a real, what's it called, a audit. They haven't did a real audit, because it probably show that this money, it's truly worthless. But good, keep it up. Don't let them audit it. Don't let them audit it. Just keep letting them speculate, because they said this thing been going around for years, all the way back to the 70s. So keep letting them speculate that it's less than what it is, and guess what? You'll never know. We'll just keep. No, but the dollar's going to have to collapse at one point in time or another. But that's what they're going to do. This thing ensures that, because now you have to give Saudi Arabia a little more money. You got to give them people a little hush money. You got to do all these different things, and these are all the people that were at peace with thee, and the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee, and they have ate thy bread, which means your money, your benefits, your money, your actual money, and then your actual benefits. You brought foreign aid, money, and certain things to the place, to these certain countries when they were at need, right? And you couldn't get it. You couldn't get you. Now that you need help, there's no one around, right? Have laid a wound, right? A wound is, it's bad, man. Right? A wound gets infected, right? Under thee, there is none understanding in him. So Trump, he don't know what's going on. He's just a puppet. He's going about what these elites tell him to do, but he don't know what's going on, and they don't know what's going on, because they there's no more wisdom in teaming, right? Which a lot of those small hatters that's running the world are from Germany. They Teamanites, right? Which that makes sense. There's no more wisdom in teaming, right? Small hatters from Germany, hey, y'all ain't got it no more, right? You can't pull the wool over people's eyes. People can see, they know what's going on. The whole fake AI, AI is good, but it's not that good. And then not to mention, people are just worried about it being AI. I mean, when you can't believe what you see, you can't believe what you hear, everything's coming against you. You got uncertainty. You got AI taking over your jobs. There's no future. Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 8. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm, right? Balm, for healing. When you have a wound, you put the balm on the wound, right? For her pain, if so be she may be healed. So try to put some, and see, and that's what this whole thing is all about. Trying to bring back America back to its glory, so-called glory. Let's make America great again. But there's, like the scripture said, there's no understanding in him. There ain't no bringing America back, because they got too far away from not creating their own goods. Why would you put everything off on another man to create your goods for you? That's crazy. And now you need to the point that you need missiles. Your missiles come from China. So you're begging for China to make missiles so you can use those missiles that they make to shoot at them. That makes sense. If they do give you missiles, that makes sense when the Lord said that he's gonna smack your arrows down, like it ain't gonna work. That makes sense. Because why would I give you missiles and things that's really gonna work really well? You know what I mean? So you could shoot them at me. Why would you put off everything? So China makes your missiles, Russia makes your bullets. You did this, like the scriptures speak about being a careless women, man. That's America. America is a careless woman, man. Right? It says we would have healed Babylon, which is America, daughter of Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her. Let us go, everyone to his own country. Right? Same thing it said. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven and is lifted up even to the sky, man. Hey, the Lord, this place is done, man. Done. You get everything from somewhere else. You get your missiles from China, your bullets from Russia, a your was it your fracking from fracking from Saudi Arabia to manipulate um the petroleum market. So your everything comes from somewhere else, from somebody else. That's crazy. You just thought you were gonna be always sitting on a high horse, and everybody's just gonna bow down and be your little bi. Nah, people ain't. People do that for a moment. You know what I mean? But some people get tired of being pushed around, man. Supposedly that's the reason why you supposed to have left England, right? So you could seek to do your own religious thing. But you were just the devil in the first place. But still, you were supposed to remember that thing. You're always supposed to remember you came from somewhere else to have a better life, to do this, and that. Supposedly this, because it was just a story. It wasn't real. See, like, black people really lived by that because we were actually slaves. We're beaten, this and that, the things that we've been through. We be like, man, we don't ever want to do that to someone else. And that's why they show you so much love. But no, under the banner and understanding of the scriptures, we know, hey, we're gonna love putting you devils, starting with Esau, Edom, and all you other nations. We can't wait to put you into slavery. We're gonna enjoy it. But Jake has a compassion, though. Just it's not fit in the right form. It should be for their brother. Yeah. So this is Habakkuk 2. I'm trying to start at this right here. Habakkuk 2 and 6. It's clay. Abat yad, right, which is a weight, a pledge. Heavy debt, right, which you go back. This was a thick clay, right? Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb, right? Basically, like protests, doing those little protests, little chants, right, against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long to him that layeth himself with thick clay? A pledge, heavy debt, right? Which pledge goes into basically like a pawn, because that's ultimately what Esau has. Yeah, he placed all his things into something, expecting to get it back, but it ended up, putting them in debt, right? When you put all your things into someone else's hands, your bullets come from Russia, your missiles come from China, and you depend on Saudi Arabia to frack, or to basically manipulate the market, or in order for you to make money, so everyone has to trade their dollars into US dollars in order to buy oil, and the jig is up, the gig is up, the whole charades, everything is done. Everybody know who Esau is. Everybody know that the problem on the earth is Amalek, right? So, what is it? It said, until that man of sin be revealed, right? He's revealed. So this whole thing is done. Yeah, because we know basically where all this is headed to, right? So it's Revelation chapter 13, verse 16. Also, he compels, all right? He got a great way to compel you through starvation. Yay, no jobs. Yay. Right? Right? It says all, small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, or free and slaves, right? Bond, basically slaves, because that's what it is, which they even tell you that, right? Under the law that they gave Jake, you were no longer a slave unless you got arrested, unless you got a felony, got arrested again, which basically makes you a slave all over again. So all you Jakes that's in prison, you're actually slaves under Esau's law. You're actually a slave to be given a mark on their right hand or on their forehead, signifying allegiance to the beast, which basically the system, right? Which is going to be AI, which is the micro C-hip, is going to be a way they can attach you to the internet of all things, right? So we know that this is where it's going, right? And that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name, that no man will be able to buy or sell except the one who has the mark, karagma, karax, grapho, either the name of the beast or the number of the name. And that's what we know, that's where it's going. So with all that, call Halalim, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachaha Kodash. Like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well, to the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, the elect, Shalom, to the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father, and have come back to the fold, Shalom, to your sisters, your Achwatiim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence, and above all, Kwame Yasharallah.